Hey everyone, and welcome to 22222 Tuesday. My name is Leslie Boney, and I'm the director of the Institute for Emerging Issues.
Hi, everyone. And I'm Sarah Hall, Senior Policy and Program Manager at IEI. As Leslie said, today is a special day, the kind we only have once or twice a century. 222 on 22222. And we are so excited to have you join us as we celebrate this very special Tuesday.
Let's be honest, all of us right now can use some good news, some encouragement, some reminder that we're going to be okay during these uncertain times. That's why today we want to celebrate 22 people from across the state of North Carolina who we believe are doing amazing work in their communities. These are folks that we believe deserve a little bit of extra recognition. People nominated by our staff that we've had a chance to work with over the past 3 years. People who've inspired us and we think might inspire you too.
Yeah, and these aren't the only two, these 22 people aren't the most famous people in North Carolina. In fact, a lot of them do their work very quietly. And we know there are way more than 22 people doing inspiring work across the state, but these 22 people that we want to lift up to you today are doing work on issues important to creating a more prosperous and vibrant North Carolina.
So the folks we're lifting up are working on a variety of different topics. Some of them are working to bridge the digital divide. Some of them are trying to bring together rural and urban communities in new ways. Some of them are working to increase educational attainment or economic opportunities. Some of them are trying to connect workers to quality jobs. Some of them are working on decreasing hunger. Others are really trying to increase the availability of mental health services at a time when we really need it.
And several of these people we're lifting up today come from the faith community. Others occupy the civic and community engagement space, and all of them are building community capacity. These 22 individuals and thousands of others like them are the backbone of hope and opportunity here in North Carolina. And we hope you'll tell us about other amazing North Carolinians you are working with to make North Carolina better together by using the hashtag #NCBetterTogether.
All right, it is time to share with you the names of the 22 people that we've been working with in really 11 different projects across the state of North Carolina over the past 3 years. So you can learn more about these people on our website, emergingissues.org, but let's get started. Top left, if you take a look, is Bruce McDonald, who works at NC State and is really trying to figure out ways to bridge economic and workforce development, two groups that historically don't necessarily talk to each other that much. Carol Hardison with the Crisis Assistance Ministry is looking for ways to increase community capacity. Shireen Carrico is doing great work trying to increase the total amount of mental health services capacity in North Carolina, using creative approaches to bring more mental health services to more people who need it. Danielle Frazier in Charlotte with Charlotte Works is really trying to do bridging work, trying to bring folks together from different perspectives in Charlotte to make Charlotte a better place. Diana Urieta at NC State with the Juntos program is trying to find ways that we can get the resources to the Latino community that we need in order to increase and improve educational outcomes for them. Ebenezer Solomon Gujar-Lapudi of Mecklenburg County is trying to figure out ways to connect veterans so that they can get jobs that Charlotte and the Mecklenburg County area needs taken care of with their skills as veterans. Hetty Kovach-Clark in the southeastern part of North Carolina is working on a multi-county rural-urban project, trying to connect New Hanover County, where Wilmington is, with a lot of other southeastern North Carolina counties in a synergistic set of connections. Jocelyn Ramiro Santianderas is really working on broadband, but with a particular focus for farm workers. How can we connect more farm workers to broadband opportunities? Kim Pivia, increasing community capacity, really interesting program she does under the work of her organization called KAP Enterprises. Lily Morell is an NC State student who's trying to figure out ways to help people talk to each other across lines of divide. Magali Yacinth working on increasing civic engagement and decreasing political divides. Merrill Holloway, who you'll hear about and hear from in a few minutes, is working in a variety of ways. We're singling him out for the really creative work he's doing on increasing broadband.
I'm also really excited to share that Noah Wilson of Mountain BizWorks in Asheville, who's helping to connect rural and urban communities through his Growing Outdoors partnership in Western North Carolina. We've got Reverend Dawn Baldwin Gibson, or we call her Dr. Dawn, as we often refer to her, with Peloton Ministries in Newbern, who's doing incredible work across the spectrum and really lifting up the faith community. We also have Reverend Eric Reese with the Robbinsville United Methodist Church, also focused on faith efforts, and right now is working on a tourism project with NC State. Reverend Hannah Broom of the AMZ Zion Church in Fayetteville, who is really focused on community engagement. And Reverend Nicole Jones with the Smoky Mountain District of the United Methodist Church in Haywood County, who among many things is focused on building educational attainment, particularly around early childhood. We've got Ron Dumas, a student at UNC Asheville, who's doing incredible work to build interest in public policy, particularly around food security. Sarah Glover with the United Way of Greater Greensboro, who initiates programs to support the economic opportunity of people in her community. Seth Soigling with the Rural Opportunity Institute in Rocky Mount, who's doing capacity building, particularly around trauma-informed community service. Trishonda Robertson with the Reach Center in Rocky Mount, building opportunities and access to community members with mental health support needs. And then finally, William Teasley, a student at NC State University in Greensboro, also focused on building public policy, particularly in the food security space. Again, these are not the only 22 people in the state doing amazing work, but they are 22 people we wanted to lift up to you on this special Tuesday.
It might be a little bit hard for you to find the through line, the commonality for these folks. As you've heard from me and Sarah, they're from all over the state, from the rural and urban areas, the Piedmont, the coast, the mountains. They don't all look alike, but they do look like North Carolina.
Yeah, what they all have in common are a few things we celebrate here at IEI. So they love their state. They have a heart for those who've been left behind, and they know they can't do anything all by themselves. They form teams that help them get important work done in their communities, and they know we are better when we work together.
You can go to our website if you want to find out more about them. We've asked each of them to share some inspirational words and a little bit more about the work that we do. But we wanted to give you just a flavor of some of these folks. And so we've asked two of them to join us today, two of the folks that we are recognizing today. We have Reverend Nicole Jones of the Smoky Mountain District of the United Methodist Church in Haywood County, and Merrill Holloway with NC 100 in Rockingham County, and my former employer, MDC, here in the Triangle. Welcome to you both, and thanks for being with us.
Thanks so much for having us today.
Yeah.
Nicole, both of you actually are involved in a lot of different activities, but we wanted to just lift up some of the work that you're doing with getting folks kindergarten ready and reading ready by the end of third grade, and just ask you to talk a little bit about that and your work and why you do it. Can you just say something about what it is that motivates you?
Absolutely. So I'm really motivated by making deeper and more sustainable community impact by investing in our children and by shifting the trajectory of their future. It's just been amazing to watch these children grow, the transformation of a child as they gain confidence and they realize their own giftedness and they realize their value and their worth as we have other adults who are mentoring and investing in them. And so I see it as a matter of equipping and empowering the next generation while also building and modeling healthy relationships with them.
Thank you for that. I want to ask you a couple of more questions in a second, but want to bring Merrill in also. Merrill, you work on a lot of things that have to do with increasing community capacity, particularly in rural areas. But one of the connections that we've had with you is through our digital equity efforts. And this is something that you have a heart for. You've been doing a lot of work on. Can you talk about maybe why digital equity and the opportunity to really take full advantage of broadband is so important in our rural communities and with communities that don't use broadband at the same rate as others.
Yeah, it really comes down to me, Leslie. It's a civil rights issue to me. I get a chance to do a lot of social determinants of health work and all of these things that create an environment where people can be healthy. Broadband and access to the internet is one of them. I come from a rural community. I'm very proud of being from Reedsville. As you see, I'm always wearing something either from Reedsville or alma mater, Carolina. But rural communities are losing talent. Not that the communities don't have talent, but they are losing talent that, for whatever reason, don't come back to their communities after they go away. And being able to be more connected to the entire world, we found out in these last 2 years that people can work and can live anywhere and work everywhere. So the ability to be able to get connected to the internet is going to be crucial for our communities to thrive. And our workforce in a lot of rural communities tends to skew a little older. So to be sustainable and to keep talent and to have folks be able to have access to the things that they need, we've got to have more folks have access to those skills and internet.
Yeah, so I'm so glad you mentioned that. I guess a question I would want to throw back is, where do you start when someone has a passionate idea, an idea that's going to make our state more vibrant, more prosperous, and you're by yourself, sitting in front of your computer watching this, being inspired? What advice do you have for them, for those folks, to get started tackling that?
I'd say a few things, Sarah. I'd say it's listen to people, read. Grab a bunch of folks that you trust to talk things out, and get interested in people's individual stories. I mean, I think that's one thing that's been super helpful to me, is like really listening, not listening to talk, but listening just to listen, kind of take in those things. And that helps inspire you or help put some make the ideas that you have in your head about what could be a solution more concrete, because like you're continuously, you do an ideation and imagination, and like I'm constantly feel like I'm prototyping and asking questions and then coming back and say, hey, this is what I heard and here's this solution, or here's this thing I'm thinking. Is that right? Does that sound right to you? Does that sound like the right way to go? Just constantly doing those things, and it helps these ideas that, you know, in your head about what might be a good solution in your head. But the more perspective that you're able to get about these ideas that motivate you to direct what you want to do, I think the better and more complete those are. And one last thing, I am a big proponent of the folks that we try to find solutions for are at the center of those solutions.
That is great advice. And I wonder, Reverend Nicole Jones, if you've got anything you want to add to that.
I love everything you just said, Meryl. So I'll just be like, yes, yes, yes. All those things are great. I love what you said about prototyping too. For us, that's been really important, is to hold the outcome loosely, not to feel like we have to be in control of everything all the time, because when you have a good team, things will show up and start blossoming, and there'll be fruitfulness in places where you may not have expected it. So just kind of building off what Meryl was saying, is finding a good team, because there's so many people with such a wide range of gifts. And I feel like the more diverse your team is, the stronger and more sustainable your outcomes will be. Listening to the needs of your community. Meryl, I love what you said about listen just to listen, because there may be things that we weren't even anticipating as something to address, but we find that connection through that listening and through the passions of the people on your team too. And I just find that amazing things can happen when you have that going on. With our initiative with early childhood literacy, we have taken both an asset-based community development model and combined that with the collective impact model. And right in that convergence zone, we have these local grassroots efforts, as well as having a mobilization of existing infrastructure. So we've got these community partners coming together, we've got stakeholders coming together and trying to make an impact. And most importantly, having the children of our community being a part of that as well. And so I love what you said, is like having the people at the table who are also going to benefit most from the work that we're doing.
Both of you have talked a little bit about your work of forming what I would call coalitions of the willing, but there's also work to be done on coalitions of the unwilling. And I'm wondering if you have any advice for folks who maybe are starting an effort in their area and they know that there are people who need to be at the table who aren't there or don't want to be there. And I'm wondering if you've learned anything or could share any ideas for those folks when they run into that initial obstacle.
Well, just bouncing off what Meryl was saying too, the stories, listening to people's stories. I think when we can connect deeply with hearing what people's stories are, their experience, and then sharing a vision with them. Meryl, I apologize. I think I spoke over you.
Oh no, I was just. That's a really interesting question. I don't know if I've been super successful at this. It is still something I am working on. God is still working on me in that regard. When folks that I feel are not mission aligned to like just how I operate, my ethos, like my default would be just to kind of write them off. So like what I think the thing that I've learned in the last few years in dealing with, working across lines of difference is trying to understand why something is important to that person, even if I don't agree. Like if I can just understand, okay, this is why this is important to you, and is there some small kernel nugget that we can agree on, that maybe we could work on together. So like so not writing people off, really listening again, like you said, Reverend. It's just figuring out why is this important. A lot of times people will give you their feelings about something, but you don't know where it comes from. So I think. My colleague at Rural Forward, Calvin Allen, described this beautifully, saying like a lot of people's ideas and feelings about things are like a tree. You can see the leaves on the tree and like it's very bold in front and you can't miss it. But what you don't know is like what's going on with those roots that develop that tree. So trying to go a little bit deeper with people has been super helpful.
Meryl Holloway and Nicole Jones, thank you so much for being with us, and congratulations on being 2 of our 22 on 22222. Really appreciate your being with us and the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
So as we come to a close, we do have an ask for all of you watching today. We hope you'll take 1 minute to think of someone in your community who has inspired you. Then write them a note. It can be an email, a text, a letter, or a shout out on social media. Maybe you want to volunteer to help support their work, but do something to let them know they've inspired you.
This recognition is our way of doing that with 22 people. We hope you'll take a minute to thank those that you know. Then we hope that you'll make your own commitment to lead or join a cause that you care about and believe in. From all of us at IEI, on this day especially, let's remember that we are better together.